Have you ever truly questioned whether the person you think you are is actually you? Consider the possibility that your thoughts, your choices, even your desires, those things you claim as your own, may not originate from you at all. What if, buried deep within you, there exists a silent and unseen force, something dark and ancient, quietly shaping your life from the very beginning, without your awareness? This isn't some far-fetched conspiracy theory, it's psychology. And if there's one name you need to understand the secret architecture of your inner world, it's Carl Gustav Jung. Maybe you're tired of repeating the same painful cycles, destroying relationships, self-sabotaging just when things seem to be going right, or feeling inexplicably held back by something you can't name. That something might be your shadow, or it might be the archetypes. Or perhaps it's the collective unconscious itself, calling for your attention from beneath the surface. Ignore these elements of your psyche, and you are walking blindfolded through a minefield. You'll get hurt. You'll keep making the same mistakes. You'll suffer, and worse, you'll blame fate or bad luck, never realizing the real cause lives inside you. Jung wasn't just a psychologist. He was an explorer of the soul. He dared to go where no one else had gone, into the most hidden corners of the mind, and what he found there can forever change the way you understand yourself. This video isn't a biography. It's not a crash course. It's a mirror, and I'm going to show you the truth you've spent years avoiding. But be warned, once you begin to grasp Jung's insights, there's no unseeing what you'll discover. You'll begin to notice the unconscious forces driving your life. You'll see the monsters that wear your face, and perhaps for the first time, you'll realize that your greatest enemy isn't the world, it's you. The good news? That enemy can become your strongest ally, if you're brave enough to confront it. So take a breath. Let go of distractions. Because what you're about to hear isn't just another explanation of Jung, it's the only one you truly need. And after this, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Carl Jung was not a conventional doctor of the mind. He wasn't content with simply patching up symptoms or molding people to fit into a dysfunctional society. His mission was to go deeper, much deeper. He sought to uncover the hidden essence of human nature, to confront the mysteries of the psyche head-on. He stared into the abyss of the human soul and had the courage to descend into it. What he discovered there would alter the course of psychology forever. Born in 1875 in Switzerland, Jung was raised in an atmosphere steeped in religious imagery, ritual, and a heavy, mysterious silence. Even as a child, he sensed that human experience held more than what could be measured, categorized, or rationalized. That sensitivity led him to become Sigmund Freud's most brilliant protege, but also his greatest challenger. While Freud saw repressed sexuality at the root of all psychological tension, Jung perceived something far older and far deeper. He uncovered symbols, mythologies, and timeless patterns. Where Freud peered into the personal past, Jung reached into the collective past of humanity itself. And that's why their split was inevitable. Jung was not content to heal only the surface. He wanted to reconnect the human being with their original essence. He envisioned the psyche as a living, dynamic system, full of contradictions, shadows, and paradoxes. Rationality and instinct, light and darkness, masculinity and femininity. Jung saw these polarities not as flaws to be corrected, but as forces to be harmonized. For him, pain and suffering were not problems to be fixed, but invitations to evolve. He didn't create a method of treatment. He created a new path, analytical psychology. A path that doesn't aim to eliminate what's wrong with you, but to bring to light what's been hidden, ignored, or denied. Because for Jung, the real enemy isn't suffering, it's unconsciousness. Why does this still matter today? Because we live in a world that's more psychologically ill than ever before. We numb ourselves to our emotions. We flee from discomfort. We confuse distraction with happiness. And while the world grows more disconnected, Jung's ideas remain one of the few remaining maps that can lead us back to ourselves. He doesn't offer shallow motivation or instant answers. He offers something rare and dangerous, the truth. And perhaps the most unsettling truth Jung ever shared was that not everything in your mind belongs to you. Beneath the personal layer of your psyche, there lies a vast impersonal realm shared by all human beings. He called it the collective unconscious. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a psychological reality. Imagine your conscious mind as an island, built of your memories, your traumas, your relationships. But beneath that island lies a massive, invisible ocean, and in its depths swim ancient symbols, images, and mythic forces that have existed for millennia. These aren't products of your life experience. They are universal patterns, archetypes, that shape your thoughts, emotions, fears, and desires without your awareness. This is why myths across different cultures repeat the same themes: heroes, monsters, wise elders, transformational journeys. These stories are not just cultural, they are structural. They mirror the very fabric of the human soul. Jung believed that every behavior, every emotional reaction, carries within it an archetypal root. When you fear abandonment, you're not just reacting to a recent breakup, you are reliving a timeless human wound. When you strive for meaning, purpose, or transcendence, you are following the same path countless others walked before you, guided by forces older than civilization. Ignoring the collective unconscious is like ignoring gravity. You can deny it, but it will still shape your life. Through the relationships you choose, the mistakes you repeat, the emptiness you can't explain. You aren't just fighting your own demons. You're wrestling with the shadows of humanity itself. And that brings us to one of the most terrifying and misunderstood aspects of Jung's work, the shadow. The shadow is the part of you that you deny, repress, and reject. It's everything you don't want to admit exists within you: your envy, your cruelty, your fears, your lust, your ego, your rage. It's all the traits you've disowned to become socially acceptable. And yet, the more you try to suppress your shadow, the more power it gains over your life. Have you ever lashed out at someone and later thought, "I don't even know what got into me"? That was your shadow slipping through the cracks. Have you ever felt jealousy, pride, or hatred and immediately brushed it off or rationalized it? That was your shadow showing its face, and your refusal to confront it. Jung believed that this darkness lives in every one of us, and pretending it's not there only makes it more dangerous. The shadow hides in the masks we wear. It seeps into our judgments of others. It fuels irrational anger, self-sabotage, and the persistent feeling that we are not enough. The more we cling to the idea that we are good, the more blind we become to the darkness within. And when we deny that darkness, we begin to see it everywhere else, in enemies, in strangers, in the world, never realizing it's our own reflection. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Facing the shadow is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. Because buried in your darkness are also your greatest strengths, your wildest creativity, your suppressed power. But to unlock them, you must first have the courage to look inward, to confront what you've been running from your entire life. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That single sentence from Jung captures the root of our suffering. We're haunted by what we refuse to confront. The parts of ourselves we exile into silence, the shadow, don't disappear. They become the hidden architects of our downfall. We replay the same self-sabotaging patterns, attract people who wound us, push away love, opportunity, and freedom, not because we don't want them, but because deep down, we believe we're unworthy of them. And yet, there is a way forward, not by destroying the shadow, but by integrating it. The shadow is not only a source of pain, it holds untapped energy, raw power, and forgotten truths that can transform us, if we dare to face what we've buried. But to do this, one must enter the terrain of inner darkness, the very corners of the psyche we've learned to avoid. It's here that the real journey of self-knowledge begins, what Jung called individuation. This is not a superficial quest for self-improvement. It is a profound and often painful process of becoming whole, of reclaiming the fractured parts of the self and stepping into our authentic being. From early life, most people are shaped by expectations not their own. They twist themselves to please their parents, follow cultural norms, and fit the mold society demands. In doing so, They numb themselves to their own nature. They perform instead of live. Beneath this performance lies a quiet despair, a sense that something essential is missing. Jung understood this emptiness for what it truly was, the absence of individuation. He didn't sell simple solutions. Individuation isn't about becoming your best self or manifesting endless abundance. It's about undergoing a psychological death and rebirth. It means confronting the shadow, integrating your inner contradictions, and peeling away the mask, what Jung called the persona, to uncover the true self beneath it. This process is ruthless. It tears down illusions, dismantles the ego, and forces you to face the parts of yourself you've denied. You realize you are not as noble as you hoped, nor as monstrous as you feared. You are a paradox, light and darkness, bravery and terror, strength and sorrow. And the hardest truth? This process hurts. It demands the dismantling of the protective lies you've told yourself for decades. You must stop blaming the world and take ownership of your life. You must stop living to be liked and start living to be whole. Individuation doesn't happen in comfort. It happens through crisis, loss, and internal breakdowns. Every time something in you shatters, a belief, a relationship, an identity, something new can rise from the rubble. But only if you are willing to walk through chaos instead of fleeing from it. Jung once said that encountering the self is, by nature, a defeat for the ego. Most people will never choose that path. They choose instead the numbness of distraction. But those who step into the dark discover something priceless: freedom. Because when you finally listen to your soul, when you turn toward the rejected parts of yourself and face the shadow with open eyes, you begin to remember who you've always been. And the soul speaks constantly, not through logic but through symbols, dreams, images. Dreams are the unconscious speaking in its native tongue. While modern culture mocks dreams as mere random firing of neurons, Jung saw them as sacred messages from the psyche. Each night, while your conscious mind sleeps, something ancient within you begins to speak in metaphor. But few know how to listen. Jung believed dreams were the psyche's attempt to restore balance. When we stray too far from our center, dreams confront us with symbols meant to draw us back. A falling dream might reflect a loss of control. Teeth crumbling could mirror a sense of weakness. Repeating symbols, over nights, weeks, even years, are not coincidence. They are the soul pleading for attention. But it doesn't speak in linear terms. It speaks in the language of images. This is where Jung's work becomes revolutionary. He devoted much of his life to understanding the archetypal language of the unconscious, the shared universal symbols that surface in dreams across cultures and histories. Lions, snakes, tunnels, mirrors, forests, mothers. These aren't random elements. They are archetypes, reflections of parts of your psyche that long to emerge. A house might symbolize your inner self. A snake might herald transformation. A mirror may show the aspect of you that you refuse to see. Learning to interpret these symbols is like learning a forgotten language, one that connects you to your deepest truths. And ignoring this language leads to crisis. Jung warned that when we disconnect from these inner messages, we drift from our essence. That drift manifests as anxiety, depression, disorientation, a life out of alignment. Dreams, then, are not distractions. They are maps. To ignore them is to wander blindly through a labyrinth of your own making. If you want to understand why you keep repeating destructive patterns, why fear clings to you, why you feel stuck, start with your dreams. Write them down, reflect on them, face the images. They hold the answers that logic cannot give. But dreams are only the beginning. Behind them lie deeper forces, the archetypes. These are the ancient universal patterns that dwell in the collective unconscious. They are not learned, they are inherited. They shape your thoughts, feelings, and life stories from within. And though they are invisible, they are powerful. Archetypes are the true playwrights of your life. Ever felt like you were acting out a script you didn't write? That's an archetype in action. Jung identified many of them. The hero who strives and sacrifices, the sage who seeks truth, the shadow, which contains the repressed self, the anima and animus, which represent the feminine in men and the masculine in women. These archetypes are not passive, they carry energy. When one dominates your psyche, it possesses you. It makes your choices before you even realize you're acting. That's why people play roles, like the savior who helps everyone but destroys themselves, or the wounded child who fears rejection and craves approval. You are not always choosing freely. Sometimes you are being moved by forces you don't yet understand. But archetypes are not enemies. Unconscious, they control you. Conscious, they empower you. Recognizing them is how you stop being a character and become the author of your life. But how does this journey begin in practice? How do we move from theory to transformation? That's the question we now must face. Because for most of your life, you've tried to belong, to survive, to play the part expected of you. You smiled while silently screaming. You stood strong while crumbling inside. Somewhere along the way, you lost contact with your soul, with your chaos, your mystery, your inner fire. But now, something inside you is waking up, and it is no coincidence that you're here. Jung believed that what appears accidental is often the unconscious sending a message. Perhaps this is that message. A call to stop running, to stop pretending, to stop hiding in surface-level existence. What Jung offers isn't easy. It requires courage, it requires pain, it requires ownership, but it is also liberating. Because when you finally understand that you are not broken, just unconscious, you reclaim power. The power to change, to integrate, to heal.